Hello everybody, it's Rick. I'm back. This is like 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. It's like feast or famine with me. Either I make a lot of videos, I take a couple weeks off, replenish, because I don't like coming on here if I don't have anything to say. But what I do have to say, if you need to reach me, the email is rick0327@me.com. Get that out of the way. It's June 22nd, 2017. I mixed it up today. But again, I don't like coming on here unless I have something to say or add. So, you know, we were talking about the, non-judicial persons. Now, this morning, somebody reached out to me and the opposite occurred, which is, all right, there are some of you out there who actually have orders from a judge. Now what do we do? Okay, now my game plan has always been, as you guys know, have been with me for a while, you know, I like to go after the support order. I like to go after things that they're not doing that they're supposed to do. So if we could disqualify the adjudicator, right? That's what a judge is. Now, here's the thing about a judge. They're at the top. So now, if a judge is presiding over an administrative hearing, that judge is now an administrator, okay? So he's like a chameleon. So, and also, if a judge chooses to preside over an administrative hearing, he or she is in jeopardy of losing judicial immunity, okay? The Supreme Court says it, all right? There's a few cases. I always, I always cite Stump versus Sparkman. And there's a couple other ones out there. But what it says is when the judge is wearing the administrator cap, which they all are, by the way. You know, if you do your research and you know, apparently we don't have any judges in the United States anymore. Okay, since 1791. There's case law out there, but I'm not gonna get into all of that stuff. I'm gonna just say, all right, we have a judge, but I'm explaining to you now that in a child support matter, that judge is no longer a judicial actor. They're an administrator. Okay? So what I do now because the order and the person reached out to me, I'm like, all right, now what do we do? All right, well, we're going to file an objection, and the judge, we're going to disqualify the judge because the judges under the 14th Amendment and under and their judicial code is they have to maintain impartiality. So they have to be impartial, unbiased. Now, how is a judge going to be unbiased and impartial when they're presiding over a child support matter? And what do they always do? What do they always do? They always order you to pay by income withholding order. Right? Do you ever hear them say, sir, ma'am, if we make an agreement today where you promise to pay every 2 weeks, ma'am, sir, is it okay if he or she mails you a check, pays you by money? Do you ever see that? Never. The judge always orders by income withholding order. You want to know why? Because that judge is mandated. Now, I don't have this officially, but let's be, is it unreasonable to think that the state will have their judges? And by the way, the judges work for the state, right? They're state judges, right? Would it be, I just had a protein bar. I got something in my tooth. Sorry if my mouth's moving all over the place. Is it unreasonable for the state to mandate the judges to force as many support cases paid through a state-run child support agency? Of course not. We know that they're doing that. Just on the scenario I gave you before. Look what happened to me. I had it in my agreement that we're not to pay. The first time I represented myself pro se, as I said yesterday, the piece of shit support magistrate, and I was doing really good. You know, she didn't. You know, she was really arrogant when I walked in there. Oh, I see you, because I brought up, like, you know, a bunch of materials, and, like, you know, I was wearing a lawyer hat, and she was like, oh, like, you know, real fucking pompous. This woman is so fucking pompous. You see in the video of me sitting there with her fucking glasses on. She is so fucking arrogant. You know, because she thinks she's the real fucking deal. And you know, her name is Sudeep Kaur. Her nickname in that building is the Man-Hater. All the court officers fucking hate her because they always have to come to her rescue. When I was in there, you know, they would have to have 4 or 5 court officers in there because I threatened to arrest her. And I've told you guys that story before. But again, let me digress. So I walked in there and she's like, really, oh, you see, you came here prepared to, like, you know, real fucking condescending. And I actually was like, I was prepared. And I was so prepared that you know, things were getting heated because I wasn't having it. I was like, no, there's no change in circumstances. Blah, blah, blah. I was doing all the stuff that I read because I did my research. And she threw me out of the fucking room. And while I was out of the room, my ex-wife and her attorney was still there. So when I walked in there, magically, she's ordering me to pay child support through the child support agency. And that's when my life went to shit. So that was June 7th, 2012. My life turned into shit after that day up until August 22nd of 2016 when the judge issued a stay. So for 4 years, my life was fucked up, okay? As you guys are. Which is why, you know, I do what I do. Which is why I don't ask for a lot of money, because I've been there. I know what some other YouTubers are asking for money. And I know a lot of that stuff is garbage. The only guy that puts out good stuff is Armin Osiris. That's my friend. Okay? And he's the one, I learned this from him, his video, that judges are not impartial because their salaries, now I already gave you guys this scenario why they're not impartial, because it's not unreasonable, right, for a judge to order you to pay support through the agency, right? Because why? Because they get the federal funds. Well, where does those federal funds go? They go into the state treasury. They go into a county treasury. They go into a city treasury. You get me? So if there's a child support case in your town, that money gets divvied up and it goes there. It's a lot of money. One guy reached out to me, did the research, and it was something in the area of $5 billion in New York State. And that makes sense. Now think about it. Think about all of you out there, myself included, who where on payday, all the money comes out of our checks. Where does that money go? All right? Well, it gets taken out, and they cook the books, okay? And, you know, you're only supposed to be doing this if there is somebody receiving public assistance, right? But how many of us weren't? Me? How many of you guys out there? A lot. But, so they're cooking the books. So $5 billion is really, it's not unheard of. I found an article online in New York City you know, they're bragging about how, New York City is basically chasing the deadbeat, because we're all deadbeats, right? And the income withholding, well, New York City in 2012 or 10 collected, this is New York City now, okay? 5 boroughs. 670 million. It's just the 5 boroughs. New York State's a big state, okay? And think about it. 670 million, what's 66% of that, right? We're talking maybe 400 million now. It's a lot of money. So if going by that, you could see where the $5 billion comes from. Now we understand why they're so aggressive and why they don't care. Okay? But the judge's salary is derived from the Treasury. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to use that to disqualify the judge. Okay? I put together an objection just for that purpose. Okay? And I'm not supposed to be reading and driving, but I am, because I'm such a crazy guy. I'm such a lawbreaker. But anyway, well, let me go to the cover page here. Okay. Notice of demand. All right? Now listen. We're always making demands. We don't motion the courts. You understand? Never, ever. We don't motion to the court. When you're making a motion, you're asking permission. We don't ask for permission. We make demands. And we have every right to. We're being accused. And when you're being accused of something, you have a right to demand to meet your accuser. Right? You have a right to know the nature and cause of the charges against you. Right? So that's why we're making a demand. So I'm stopped right now so I can read. I'm at a light coming off the highway. The objection, the order is arbitrary and capricious. All right? There's no evidence. The petitioner did not introduce any evidence. So that makes the order arbitrary and capricious. Remember what we said, a judge or fake judge, they get their jurisdiction based upon the evidence introduced into the court. No evidence, no case. It's like, you're accused of a murder. Well, there's no body. There's no weapon. You were seen in a restaurant with 20 people. There's no evidence against you. Case dismissed. Except in child support cases, for some reason, we can't get a dismissal with no evidence. But we're working on it. First Amendment violation, requiring court to prove evidence of public assistance paid to the petitioner, right? No public assistance, there's no recoupment of welfare, and there's no reason for a Title 4D collection agency to be hounding you and to be taking the money out of your paycheck, right? Paid to the petitioner for which court uses to create presumption of debt. Now, the welfare is is where they get this presumption of debt. Remember I said it to you guys? Well, right away, what they're doing with this paternity stuff is they're like, well, we have to establish a paternity. You want to know why? Because they're already presuming that you owe a debt. Why? Because of the welfare being paid to the baby mama or the baby daddy. I'm very politically correct these days because I had a lot of women reach out to me. So right away, they're like, you owe the debt. Why? Because of public assistance. But we're taking a step back. We're like, hold on a second here. Remember I said to you the other day, where's the proof that I wasn't paying support? Right? Where's the proof that she's on public assistance or he's on public assistance just because you're not paying support? Where is that evidence? There is no evidence. They can't prove it. So if we go in that way, it's almost impossible for them to prove it. All right? So, presumptions, I have, I have citations from the Supreme Court that says, you know what? A presumption is the complete opposite of due process. Proper due process is supposed to eliminate presumptions. You're presumed to have done committed a crime, right? Well, if you're presumed to have committed a crime, it's the state's duty to prove it, right? You're presumed to have let's say you went through a red light. I'll make it real simple. Well, the police officer or deputy sheriff has to show up and read from his memo book the details. Well, at such and such a time, I observed a red car being driven by a male, proceeded, and he at a steady red light and drove into the intersection, through the intersection. I'm trying to remember how he used to testify, and so on and so forth. Okay? That's what they're supposed to do. Except in child support cases, you're just presumed to owe the debt. Now, it's up to us to disprove it, which is, fucked up. But with your friend Rick here, that's what we're doing. All right? So, I made an objection to disqualify the judge. And what I said was, in the paperwork, as I said to you guys earlier, is it unreasonable for a judge to be mandated to order support paid through, through the state-run collection agency? Now, here's another thing. If you're in a proceeding and a hearing for the recoupment of welfare, right? The judge is already disqualified. Because what's the sole purpose of the hearing? To recoup money that's going to be deposited into the state treasury. The judge is already disqualified just based on that. That's the reason why they have all these fake judges doing it. Ahmed Osiris said it. The judges aren't allowed to preside over child support cases. So we got them. And that's what I got in the objection. All right, so what I did is, we're going after the judge. We're disqualifying the judge. Okay? That's what we have to do. And just remember when you go in there, if you have an upcoming hearing, hey, don't be afraid to say, excuse me, Your Honor, you're disqualified. What do you mean I'm disqualified? Can't you see this black robe? Jurisdiction doesn't come from a black robe. I put that in my man Troy's paperwork. Helped him out in Ohio. Troy's the guy that the scumbag judge goes, I'm going to do it my way. Mr. Frank Sinatra judge, I'm going to do it my way. No, asshole, you don't do it your way. You do it the Constitution way, based on your oath of office under the Supremacy Clause. So I put that in there. I didn't call him Frank Sinatra, but what I said to him was, your jurisdiction does not come from your black robe, doesn't come from the gavel or the American flag. It comes from evidence. And they don't have any evidence. Then I disqualified him for the same reason I just gave you guys. All right, so again, don't be afraid to say, well, if this is a Title 4D case, then you're disqualified. You're not impartial anymore. What do you mean? And for the reasons I gave you guys. All right, so listen, I hope this was an educational video today. I hope you learned something. All right, and all right, I'll hear from you in a day or two. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.